on the panel. Again, my name is Aaron Danowski. I'm a senior admission counselor here at Gonzaga. I am the honors coordinator for the admission side of the process, the program. I'm also a former honors student at Gonzaga. I studied business and sociology, minored in that sociology program, and am originally from Portland, Oregon. So looking forward to sharing with you all. Why don't we go to Karen next?
Hi, I'm Karen Petruska. I am Associate Director of Honors, and I'm also an Associate Professor in Communication Studies. I've been here about 10 years at Gonzaga and affiliated with Honors, I think, for 4 years. So it's a great community.
Wonderful. Chris?
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Stevens. I teach in the business school. I teach entrepreneurship and strategy and business ethics. I've been at Gonzaga for 18 years now, and I've been involved with the honors program for 3 or 4 in various roles. This year, I'm serving as one of the co-interim directors with Dr. Whitlatch, who couldn't join us tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. Let's have our student panelists share briefly, and then we'll have Sarah and Becky go last. Kira, why don't you start?
Hi, my name's Kira. I'm a current junior in the honors program from Seattle, Washington.
Perfect. And then Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm also a current junior, and I'm from Palo Alto, California.
Awesome. And then Cece?
I'm Cece. I'm a computer engineering major and a senior from Twilla, Utah.
Fantastic. All right. And then Becky, why don't you go next?
Hi all, my name is Becky Doyle. I'm one of our admission counselors in the office, been here for just over 2 years and a proud GU grad before that, but I'll be in the chat answering any questions that you guys have.
Wonderful. And last but not least, Sarah.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Welchel. I'm also an admission counselor here at Gonzaga, also a very loud and proud Gonzaga alum as well, and then I'll also be helping Becky moderate questions in the Q&A.
All right, very good. Now with the formalities out of the way, we will go ahead and get started. We have 300 strong on here tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Karen to talk a little bit about just a general overview of the program and some details about the coursework and the structure that we are using to engage with students. So Karen, take it away.
Sure. Thank you all for being here. We're really excited to share a bit about our program. Honors at Gonzaga, it brings in students from all of the schools and colleges and programs. So it's deeply interdisciplinary. It is an academic program. We bring in students who are deeply curious, who want to work with others to think about big, difficult questions and to bring their different perspectives and skills to bear on kind of helping to work on those problems. We'll talk a bit about the curriculum that actually helps us do that. But we are first and foremost a space for students who are intellectually curious and pretty motivated. We, as a part of a Jesuit institution, with that deeply lives its mission, we have an active commitment to social justice, which our students embrace in a bunch of ways. So our first year curriculum really tries to underscore a lot of what the mission means and how that's realized in the classroom. Our students do a wonderful job when they plan a dance for the students. They also have students bring in canned goods or things like that for a particular charity in town. So we have a bunch of different touch points to try to help students think about how to make the world they're in better. We are committed to global awareness, and in fact, Honors works very hard to support students studying abroad in a variety of ways. So that's a priority for us, that students can have that experience when they want to, and to try to help support that. And then I think we just really, we bring a lot of people together who are excited about this school and institution and really excited about our students and helping them come in here as a first year. You'll get to know the program, get to know the university, but as you continue with us, you will eventually develop your own individual goals and your disciplines and your own projects. And we work to get you to that point where you really come to understand who you are as a scholar, as a future professional, and as a citizen of this world. All right, so when you accept Gonzaga and accept the honors program, we invite you to our immersion experience as a first year. So the students come a little bit early, a few days before the big welcome week. and they spend 3 days with us. They move into their residence hall. So the first day you move in, but we start with a dinner. And we have a bunch of different activities for the next few days. We have students who serve as mentors for the small groups, so you get to know some of the more advanced honors students. We have faculty that come in and we have a shared readings that we all kind of read together and have discussions with faculty to get to know some of the honors faculty. And we do some fun stuff. We go downtown and look around. We go to the Kendall Yards night market. So it is social and academic and also very much about helping you get to know honors ethos and values. Then we have a set of courses that we call the first year experience. It is tagged onto the core. You'll find that honors actually works really well with Gonzaga's core. We try to be super efficient so that students are able to not have too much added on to them by honors so that it fits in well with what they're already doing. That first year experience has a first year seminar, which is part of the core. It's Spokane as text, so students get to know where they are, what this place is, and just an overview of its historical growth and trajectory, but also some of its challenges. We have a first year philosophy course for the honors students, and then we have a blended communication 101 and writing 101 that we call honors 101 multimodal communication. Again, we have built in some efficiencies for students to try to make sure that they can move through the core and also do all the work they want to do in their various majors and minors. So across those 3 courses, the first year students really get to know each other and get to know us as a faculty. As you move on from the first year, you will start taking honors designated courses. These are courses that might be in your major or they might be attached to the core. Honors designation means that we have made connections with the faculty and they understand what we're hoping an honors class is, which in this particular example, we really want students to do some form of independent research and bring it back into the classroom. We want students to feel like they're helping co-create that course content. And it might be an oral report, or it might be something more significant. It might be community engaged learning. There's a bunch of different ways to do this, but honors designation is a way that we've tried to identify classes that we really think are doing kind of the engaging and challenging work of the program. So you will pick from all of the different honors designations. If you need religious studies that semester, you'll look for which ones are honors designated, and hopefully that will those courses will always be fitting into your curriculum plan. We also have courses we call our colloquium course. And these are themed. They are super topical and they are organized around urgent social questions. So we have had colloquia courses about climate change, about inequality, about race and representation. We bring faculty usually from 2 different departments. They work together, they collaborate to teach those courses. So it's deeply interdisciplinary and the students really work together to think through how do we even understand what's going on with climate change? What's happening out there to try and help us navigate this? We have a biologist, an environmental scientist in the room, and they're able to kind of work together to guide students through some of these really challenging issues. So the cloak we hope are value added. Those are for honor students, and it's a chance to see students at all levels of the program and think some deep thoughts. The curriculum kind of culminates in this senior project, the capstone project, where the individual students plan some sort. There's usually research involved, but there's also usually some sort of public application, some sort of public outreach. So they will work with a mentor in their department, maybe if they have a minor and that's the area they want to focus on. Students often bring together their different disciplines into whatever their project is going to be. I think we have a list of these coming up, so I'll give you some examples of what these capstones can look like. But they work pretty closely with a mentor. I'm working with a student right now. We meet weekly and I'm guiding her through the project. What is the research going to look like? What are your sources? What are your questions? And right now we're in kind of the writing stage because we're getting closer to the end here. So I'm looking at drafts and doing feedback and helping guide this student through this project that for her brings together some critical questions from her goals to become in the future a medical doctor. So here's some examples of what these capstone projects look like. They are varied and wondrous. I'll let you read through some of these. But we had a student last year who wanted to think about, can I live a zero waste life? And I want to do that through clothing. And so the student, had a couple of, shirts, some pants, whatever, and said, I'm going to make a jacket out of these materials that I already own, and there's going to be zero waste. People, that means she had to figure out what to do with the labels. The labels had to be part of the jacket. It was a fascinating project, and there was research that went into it. And this was a communication studies student who was also trying to think through her identity as an environmentally aware person. We've had students, projects are sometimes deeply personal. Students have thought about their family, their history. One student wanted to really work on their Spanish and wrote the entire project in Spanish, even as a Spanish learner, but also built a podcast through conversations with family to explore her identity as someone whose family comes from Mexico. So we've seen some really beautiful things. We've had students think about, you could see here, people think about sports and ethics. We have a lot of students that approach this through their STEM work. LGBTQ Catholics, how they reconcile faith and identity, challenging, complicated, interesting work that for students, we hope not just shows how all of their different disciplinary interests come together, but also we encourage them, what does it look like to do this work? What does it look like for you to be a professional in the world? Students build these out of internships, and they can build businesses as their senior capstone. So the options are pretty endless, and the mentor works pretty closely to make sure that you're fulfilling the expectations of the assignment, but also really getting a chance to be creative and expansive in how you think about yourself as increasingly a scholar and a future professional. All right, so in addition to all of our academic and curricular work, we work hard to build a strong and connected community. And we do this first through our Living Learning community. This is available for our incoming first year students. You do not have to live in the Honors Living Learning community, but it is one of the options among other wonderful Living Learning communities. And some students choose not to be part of a Living Learning community at all. So again, lots of choices for you. But we found that honor students really enjoy that. It's pretty immersive for them, and they get to do their coursework with each other. They get to live with each other, and they really build some really tight relationships that carry them through school. So the Living Learning community is going to be based in our residence hall in Coghlan. And that is one option for students to kind of help them get settled here and feel a part of this community. We do a fall retreat. In the past few years, this has been Lake Day. We go out to Lake Coeur d'Alene, and the students get to play in the water and play volleyball, play basketball. We just kind of take over the Luther Haven campground and have a great time and eat some food. And it's a great time for the first years to start to get to know some other honors students and get to know each other. Honors hosts a Christmas party, which is coming up pretty soon. And our honors council, it's a group of students. They help organize usually some gift giving amongst the classes, white elephants, that sort of thing. So we host the Christmas party. Our honors council also helps us organize something we call the 60-second lecture. This is when faculty are invited to speak to a theme, but they only get 60 seconds to talk. And we are not good at being brief, as you can tell from my introduction here. So 60-second lectures is really funny to watch how the faculty navigate that 60-second limit. And so they each speak from their disciplinary perspective on the theme. I mean, the theme could be purple. The theme can be all kinds of, they're usually pretty random. And then the faculty sit at tables and the students kind of work their way around the room and chat with the faculty and get to know them and talk about the topic and the faculty's approach. And it's just another way to kind of build the community, not just amongst the students, but with the faculty who are guiding them through the program. Honors Council helps us with a bunch of different events, the aforementioned dance, the formal that they organize in spring, which has actually grew out of COVID because students were coming to Gonzaga who didn't get to have a prom. And so Honors Council stepped in and organized a dance for them. That's the kind of community we have. Students wanted them to get their dance. And we are continuing to do it because it's just a great time for students to hang out. And then finally, around our seniors, when we do the capstone projects, students are invited to do a presentation of that in the spring. They do poster sessions. We also host a dinner for them to celebrate. So there's an opening dinner for the first years when they come in for our immersion, and there's a closing dinner for the seniors on the further end of their time here. So those are some of the ways that students get to know each other as people as well. I think there are quite a few benefits for honors. We try to find lots of ways to make sure this is a really meaningful experience for you. Honor students are able to take more than 18 credits without having to pay a fee. For some of the students in our higher credit programs, nursing or engineering, those sorts of things, that can be very, very helpful. We don't love that students sometimes have to take more than 18 credits, but we have very ambitious students. And one of the ways we can support them in the program is to create this opportunity for them to do that coursework without a financial burden being imposed upon it. We do have honor students are able to study with non-sponsored programs a little more easily, and their honors scholarship goes with them. We have sponsored programs for study abroad. You'll learn more about this, but sponsored programs work with Gonzaga, and we have arrangements so that you still pay your Gonzaga tuition, but you go to that school. Non-sponsored programs, it gets a little more complicated, and so honors works hard to make sure we can kind of help that system work so that students have an even wider set of programs. Like we had a student who went to Siena. We have a program in Florence, like Gonzaga has a campus in Florence, but this student was really committed to learning Italian and wanted to be in a program where she didn't have a bunch of other honor students around, and we were able to help facilitate that. And that student also extended study abroad for a full year. So there are different ways that honors can help with those study abroad experiences. We talked about the living learning community, again, an option, but we hope a desirable one. Additional advising support. All honors students will have the honors directors as secondary advisors. Usually our advising at Gonzaga is through your major. You have someone in your major who knows best what your professional goals are and how to help you build out those professional relationships and internships. But for the honors particularities, and just sometimes you want someone who isn't always the person that's looking over your major. Sometimes you just want to ask someone, I'm having this challenge in this classroom. You're not currently teaching me. Can I talk to you about it? And honors faculty are there for all of that. Honors questions, but also just the challenges of navigating life as a college student. So we are here always that students have open access to us for that additional advising support that they might need. And we do have the honor scholarship that we offer to all of our students as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Karen. Before we jump over to talking a little bit about the current honors cohort and some details on the admission process, I do like to just add, when I was an honors student, I actually took advantage of that study abroad non-sponsored program option, and I was able to speak French growing up. I decided to go to Cameroon and Central Africa for 4 months. It involved coordinating with the different faculty departments to make sure that the coursework I was taking there was going to be able to come back effectively, but it greases the wheels to be able to make sure that if there's something that you really want to be able to accomplish and do that maybe doesn't quite align, I treated it kind of like a second minor, honestly, and then was able to use my excess credit fee waiver to be able to make up some of my business courses and give me that great experience. So that's, again, it's one of the ways I sort of joke, honors at Gonzaga is kind of dialing it up to 11. It's about getting a little bit more out of this experience, being a little bit more committed to the mission, a little bit more engaged in the academics, a little bit more, deeply immersed in a sense of community. And you have all of those amazing things at Gonzaga. It's just about really accentuating those things in the best way possible. So that is perfect. From my side, I'd like to just take a moment to talk a little bit about what the application process looks like. And I see there's been questions coming through. These are great. We will be addressing many of those here. So keep sending those in. We're going to get to them in a moment. As far as the honors cohort goes, we aim for between 80 and 85 students per year enrolling in the program. This past year, we had almost 500 applications that were submitted for the honors program. We ended up with 82 enrolled students from 17 different states. You can see the map right there, coast to coast. We had folks from Connecticut and Maryland, and obviously out here in Washington, Oregon, California, down to Texas, up to Michigan. Gonzaga overall has students from, I think, 48 states. We're still working on figuring out West Virginia and Mississippi, but functionally, we aim to bring together a really diverse pool of students from across not only geographic, regions, but also academic interests. 23 majors represented among these 82 students. Keep in mind, these are preliminary majors that students identified. This does not lock them into what they will graduate as. Maybe our students who are on the panel here can attest to some of this. Many students interested in biology and engineering and business, in psychology, human physiology, neuroscience. We do have students who are in nursing program, which I get questions about a fair amount. Students who are interested in doing nursing and having the direct admit nursing program, be accessible to them, but who also want to have a deeply kind of rooted experience in a humanities-based core curriculum that the honors program can provide. So that is definitely an opportunity for students to be able to leverage. The average unweighted GPA for students in this cohort was a 3.91. We are not a GPA club. I would hasten to say we are not looking to just admit 4.0 students. We are much more interested in trying to identify students who have deep intellectual curiosity, who have have demonstrated resilience, who have deep creativity, and who want to be engaging with the world in novel and unique ways. And that in many times can overlap with tremendous academic success, but those two things are not perfectly equivalent. And so as we kind of talk in the next slide about what we look for in the honors application, keep that in mind, that yes, academic excellence is expected, but not sufficient to gain admission to the program. You can see our average SAT and ACT scores here. Only about 25–30% of honors applicants submitted a test score. So we are test optional as a program. That is something that if you have a strong score and you've submitted, many of you have already applied early action. If you applied with a test score, we will look at that test score. But if you applied test optional, you can still apply to the honors program. You are not at any disadvantage to gain admission to it based on if you're test optional or not. We are right in line with the university overall. We had 34% of our entering students who are Black, Indigenous, people of color. We want to create a space where all perspectives are not only present, but are elevated, where we have opportunities to really engage in deep, intentional, and sometimes intense conversations where we are listening and where we are also trying to broaden our horizons, and making sure that we're doing that within the context of a predominantly white institution means explicitly creating space. So that is also, I think, an important balance piece that you need to consider for the program here. With that, I want to briefly turn it over to our student panelists to just share a little bit, a couple of minutes, 1 or 2 minutes each, about sort of how you decided to apply to the honors program, what your experience has looked like in it so far, and then maybe something you wish students that you were familiar with when you were entering that you want to share with our students who are on the call this evening. And I promise students, once you have done those quick round introductions, there will be more time to delve into your experiences. So let's try and keep it to a minute or two each, and then we'll go from there. Why don't we start with Kira, and then we'll go to Sam, and then we'll go to Cece.
Okay, perfect. I was just taking some notes because I have so much to say. My name is Kira. I'm currently a junior studying communication studies and English literature with a minor in solidarity and social justice. I initially applied to the honors program because I was super excited about the emphasis on global engagement and social justice. That's always been something really important to me. I really wanted to be around people who really cared about school, and I've really found that, but also people who like to have a lot of fun. All of my closest friends come from honors. I live with a bunch of them right now, and it's super fun. We get to go explore Spokane, and we also get to have really cool conversations over dinner, and that's my favorite.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a junior. I am a psychology major with a classics minor, which I did not think I was going to have coming into college. So that was super cool to figure that out. I feel like the reason I applied to honors was basically just because when I went to go look at the school, they got it introduced to me. People looked at my GPA in high school and they were like, "Hey, you should apply to the honors program." And I was like, "Okay, why not?" And I did, and I'm super glad that I did. It really helped with the transition from high school to college to be in an environment full of people that I felt like shared a lot more in common with me than maybe your average student. Not to say that I haven't made most of my friends outside of the honors program too. Like, there's not really any. I was worried that there would be like a separation between the two, and there really isn't. It's just a nice like way to introduce you into the school in the first couple weeks.
Hi, I'm Cece again. I am a senior computer engineering student. One thing that I would like you guys to know is you can very well do both honors and engineering. It pairs quite well, and both the engineering department and the honors department really do want to see you grow and succeed. It's been wonderful. Part of the reason why I applied for the honors program my freshman year was to have these teachers and professors who were really developed and wanting to have students learn and grow in their classes, which has just been an amazing experience.
Perfect. And then I think we have Cam on as well. Feel free to share a little bit about your background, why you chose to apply to honors, and something you've appreciated about your time in here so far.
Awesome. Okay, I wasn't sure if you forgot me, but that's okay. My name's Cam. I actually wasn't here for intro, so no hurt feelings. But I'm a senior business and English double major, minor in sustainable business. I chose to join the honors college also because of like I was looking for community. I was really looking to come in with like built-in friends who couldn't leave me because we all lived together. Obviously COVID hit my junior year, me and Cece, and I never went back to high school. So I was like, I need to be around everybody possible immediately. And it was the best. I had so much fun. I still live with girls from honors. I mean, a lot of my good friends are honors students, and like, especially my first year living with all those people, we had some of the funniest conversations. Like, we'd be up until the late hours just talking about stuff that ultimately had no impact on our lives, but it was so, so fun. And I look back fondly, and it's still fun to this day.
Fantastic. Thanks you for, I appreciate you all being here. I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions and things for you all. So students, if you have questions for any of them, please do feel free to put those in the Q&A. I will wrap up my section here in just a couple of quick minutes talking about what the application process looks like, and then we're going to shift over and have Sarah and Becky guide us through going through all of your questions. So key things to understand. At this point, the honors application is open. It opened up on September 25th. There's no brownie points for submitting it sooner rather than later. January 5th is the application deadline. We tried to give you a full final weekend to, I know a lot of honor students are professional procrastinators. They do a good job at coming through in the clutch, but you're motivated by a deadline, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. So January 5th is the application deadline. You can apply for the honors program regardless of if you applied early action or you have not yet applied. If you missed the early action application window for the university overall, you are still able to apply for the February 1st regular decision deadline and apply for the honors program and be fully considered. We look at a couple of key things when we are reviewing honors applications. First, I should mention the honors application is on our website. You can go and look at it right now, and it includes, yes, a list of activities. It asks you to describe your involvements in a little bit more depth maybe than you did on the Common App. We are able to see some of that information from the Common App, but the more that we are able to hear in your voice, the things that you have been involved with, the things that that you feel strongly have shaped you in high school, that is really valuable for us to be able to see. The main piece, the core of the honors application is the honors portfolio. And this is explicitly intended to be a sort of a vague prompt to encourage you to showcase your creativity, the way that you understand the world and are really seeking to engage with the honors program once you arrive here on campus. The electronic portfolio can take a wide array of forms. It can be a video, it can be a PowerPoint, it can be an audio recording. We had one student a couple years ago submit a speech and debate style 5-minute radio communication prompt. We have students who create online magazines or newspaper, spreads about themselves. It's a little bit less about, once again, describing all the things you've done and a little bit more about trying to explain what that means for you. What have you taken away from these experiences? How have you demonstrated your intellectual curiosity? What has sparked this passion that you have for this particular area of interest in your life? And how can we understand what your unique perspective is that you would bring to the table and contribute to our community? So the other thing I'll mention briefly, it's in the instructions for the portfolio, but I say it often, it really behooves you, if you want to be admitted to the program, to create a specific portfolio for the honors program. Recycling an application or some prompt, something that you created for a previous class is not sufficient. It can be used as a supplement to the honors portfolio and the explanation for why you want to be in the program. We have students who submit their IB extended research papers. We have students who feel really strongly about something that they produced in a course that we are happy to consider, but we want that to be coupled with a Gonzaga honors specific portfolio component. So keep that in mind. We have a couple of examples up on the web, including Kira's video that she did a couple of years back. So if you have questions about the portfolio, please do feel free to reach out to me. My information is on the web. I'm sort of your point of contact as you're putting together these things. But just know that yes, like we were talking about earlier, GPA is important. You can see the range of where students were when they were admitted to the program in the last couple of years, 3.6 to 4.0 with a 3.91 average. But those honors portfolios are really what we emphasize. And as I mentioned before, our test scores are truly optional. So when you're thinking about, at this point, if you've already applied and submitted a test score, that decision's already been made about whether or not you would like to have those test scores be considered. The final thing I'll mention briefly is the timeline for hearing back from us. If you apply by the January 5th deadline, we are going to be reviewing applications, and then in late February is when we will be releasing honors decisions. When the honors decisions are released, they will include those who were admitted, those who were waitlisted, and those who were denied. Those all will come out in late February, and you can connect with us and share if you have particular questions about that. But that is something else to be aware of. Okay, we've covered a good amount of ground here. I want to turn it over to Sarah and Becky to have us share and address anything that has come up as we have covered content so far tonight.
Awesome. There are lots of questions in the chat, so this is great. The first one that I think a few students have asked is, are you able to apply for the honors program after acceptance decisions are sent out or only before?
That is a great question. I have been encouraging students to at least begin applying to the honors program before acceptance decisions are sent out. If you applied early action, you will be hearing back with an admission decision in late December. A little bit pre-Christmas is sort of what the expectation is at this point. That gives you a fairly narrow window for being able to finish up the honors application by the January 5th deadline. So honestly, I would encourage you to at least begin applying, if not actually fully apply to the program prior to hearing back about an early action application or admission. That is a very good question to ask.
I had a question that came up. I actually don't know the answer to this one, but how many students are currently on the honors program and how many students are typically applying each year and admitted each year?
Karen, do you know how many are currently in the program?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but we have about 80 students. So we have about 300 that are regularly in honors, because I think we've been doing 80 now for these 4 years. So yeah, that puts us at about that number. Aaron said earlier, last year we had 500 students apply and we accepted and admitted 82. So we aim for that 80 to 85 a year.
Yeah. We do admit more than enroll, so there's always a little bit more of a buffer there than that, but it is a competitive program, and I think that is one of the harder things that Karen and myself and Chris and the ones who are involved in these decisions have to grapple with. There are many incredible students who are very likely getting admitted to the university overall, and who we believe are going to be very talented, capable, strong students on our campus. We don't always have the space for every one of those students to be in the program. So be aware that there is a competitive nature to it. And also be aware that we're expecting a record number of applications this year. I would not be shocked if we end up north of 500 this year, and we had about 470 last year. So, and we are not really looking to increase the size of the program. So that is something to keep in mind.
All right, we have a question about financial aid and merit aid. Does the honors program affect any merit aid? Do honors programs awardees tend to get awarded more or less merit scholarship, just depending on eligibility?
Yeah, I'll answer this since it's on the admissions side. Typically, students who are admitted to the honors program are receiving higher levels of merit aid. Your merit aid at Gonzaga ranges between about $19,000 and $30,000 per year. That's based on the overall strength of your application through the Common App. That includes your GPA, the strength of your schedule, your extracurricular involvements, all of those things. Those things tend to overlap with the qualifications for the honors program. So students who are entering into the program tend to be on the higher end of that merit scholarship range. And then you also get the additional $1,800 a year stacked on top if you are accepted into the honors program. The other thing, I sort of point to it as a hidden merit scholarship. If you use those excess credit fee waivers, you're doing 21 or 24 credits per semester, you're technically getting discounted like, I don't know, $3,200 per course that you're taking above those 18 credit hours. So it's not a perverse incentive to take more just to take more, but knowing that that's also a financial benefit that you can glean is also valuable, I think.
And I have a question that might be great for our honors program students, but from Alec, how big of a commitment is the honors program? Are students still able to have a social life, or is it pretty limited?
I can answer that, I guess. I feel like it's not that big of a commitment. I mean, there's definitely like some more classes that you have to take, and I think it really depends on like what major you're doing, but it definitely doesn't hurt your social life at all. Like, if anything, it helps because people that are in the honors program are often like very social people. And so you have this like intrinsic connection to people that know everybody, and that's definitely super helpful. Like, one of my friends that I live with, Jackson, literally knows, I think, like half the people at the school. And so I have someone that I can just always go to and like will know anybody, which I think is super helpful.
I would also add that honors is supposed to work with your curriculum and not be something that's added onto it. So oftentimes we're filling general Gonzaga core requirements with our honors classes. They're generally pretty easy to get. They're generally more interesting to me. I feel like I have better discussions. I feel like the professors are more interesting. And so I don't feel like there's a lot more work. You take maybe 2 or 3 extra classes. But the 5 honors designations that you're required to get should work within what you're already doing.
And let me underscore real quick, just like you won't remember the math of all this, but just so you can hear it. And then when you hear it again, hopefully it'll be meaningful when you all come here and are excited to join us. On the first year curriculum, the first year seminar is a core requirement, but it gets students a social broadening requirement, which is an additional 3 credit requirement that's part of the core, and it has a social justice designation. So that first year seminar does 3 different things for the core. And like I mentioned before, the Honors 100 does Communication 100 and Writing 101, and also is Writing Enriched. So it also does 3 things. We built in those efficiencies to account for the 2 colloquia courses that you will take at some point in your next, 7 semesters. So there are those 2, but they're accounted for with the first year core. So then it really just becomes capstone which is a class that doesn't meet, but it's where you do additional work. So we built it to be pretty tight. And like Kira said, you have to take these 2 religious studies classes, you have to take these 3 philosophies. If you can take them all through the honors designation, you get most of the way there.
All right. We have another question that would be great for our students. So, what do you wish you knew about the honors program when you were still in the application stage as a high school student?
Okay, this is a good question. I think this is silly and it sounds a bit cheesy, but honors makes me want to do everything and it makes me want to take all of the different classes because there are just so many options, and the colloquia courses that are co-taught by faculty from different disciplines are really, really interesting, and you meet lots of different people through this. I found that I really liked English, and that was never something that I'd ever considered before. And you just you're talking about things in a really, really interesting way. And so I found that I just want to take a lot of classes.
I think off of the taking a lot of classes thing, 8 classes in college, like 24 credits is our cap, and that's 8 classes. 8 classes in college is fundamentally different than 8 classes in high school. Like I was on a block schedule in high school and it was like 4 per day, and that was totally fine. 8 classes here is brutal. And it's like, it can be really fun. Like I've loved probably maybe except for 2 classes in my whole Gonzaga experience. I've loved everything I've ever taken, especially my honors classes have been a blast. But if you're thinking to yourself now, like, I'm taking 8 classes, it's different. It's different. Ease into it. Also, for some reason, like starting high school at 7 a.m. was so much easier than starting college at 8 a.m. An 8 a.m. class is so tough for me. And obviously, know thyself. 8 a.m. is not a class that I should be registering for. But just like, accept that college is a transition and take some time to transition into it.
And another question that would be great for our honors faculty in the room would be, are there any common missed opportunities or underutilized resources that honors staff wish students would take more advantage of?
Advising, work with your advisors early and often. If you come to Gonzaga during the summer, you're going to spend some time working with the university advisors, understand what they're trying to set you up for. And then when you get here, and I mean, this holds true even if you don't come to spend time with us. There's a lot of people on campus whose job it is to try to give you the best possible trajectory towards the finish line for what you want to try to do. And we're registering for classes right now. The number of students that, there's always a pretty fine dividing line. I know Karen has experienced this too, between the students who show up 3 weeks before registration and the students who show up 3 days after registration, trying to solve problems, right? And we're all here to try to do those kind of things. And the other thing I think is very broadly, sharing what you want to do, right? As Karen talked about when she talked about the senior projects, right? The whole idea of the senior thesis is, what do you want to spend a year of your time thinking about? What's the big idea that you think would be really cool to have an opportunity to talk about? And the more you engage with us early throughout the program, all of the faculty that you see, all the faculty across the university, and use the resources that honors and your colleagues can provide to you, the richer your whole college experience will be, but especially the richer that senior experience will be.
All right, this next question is, do honor students get any priority enrollment benefits?
I'm going to speak to this because Linda Tredenick is the director of honors, and I've heard her answer this quite a few times. So Dr. Tredenik does not ask Gonzaga to offer that to honor students, and she does it for equity reasons. We do have, tremendous advising support for our students. We help them get ready, but they do enroll with everyone else. And she does believe that this is, that she doesn't want that to be the thing that sets apart honors, that the students get to go first. So I don't know if that makes sense to all of you, but it's something that believes reflects our values, that honors is of the community, not separate from the community.
Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that honors designated courses work, there's a certain number of slots that are reserved for honors students. And so like there is a sort of I don't know, you can treat it as like sort of you're given priority access to some of these courses. It's not a guarantee, I guess, but
Well,
I
And
don't
there
know.
yeah.
There are apparently some little secret things. I didn't realize that for some engineering students, there might be some seats saved in some philosophy class. Yes, Cece is nodding. I just learned about that. So engineering's real tough. So we do everything we can to help the students in engineering stay with honors and like when you make plan time in your schedule and you only have that 1 p.m. time slot, it really matters that you get into that honors designated. But yes, Erin is correct. The faculty can decide how many seats, but there's always seats reserved for honors students in those larger sections, because honors designated courses are already being taught. They're being taught for the core or they're being taught within the major, but a few of those seats are only honors students can register for. And we can raise and lower that if there's profound demand. So that is a way for students to try and get into those and make sure that they're timely and that you all balance a lot. And so we do have some ways to try and help you get through.
Jumping back to students for a second, but from Sophie, for current students, what's your favorite part about the program or the school in general?
I'm a big proponent for the honors learning living community. I'm actually the RA there for this year actually. It's been wonderful. It's a great way to meet fellow colleagues and students and to have a group of people who are dedicated to learning while also having very different life experience and different majors. So you really have a bunch of interesting conversations, like Cam said, but that's honestly one of my favorite parts of Gonzaga was the learning living communities.
Think that something I kind of like expected going in, which is probably just shows my bias, is like if you think of an honors program, you think of a bunch of kids who do nothing but kind of study all the time. And not that that's not true, but that's not like it. Like most of the people that I've met, um, they're really good at balancing those things, sometimes to the detriment of their sleep or to something else. But at the end of the day, we're all very social people mostly. So I don't think that that should influence anybody's decision. Like if you're worried that because you're joining an honors program, like one of those questions was talking about how it might like hurt your social life, it won't. Like it's not, that's not a problem.
For me, it's the people. I love the people at Gonzaga. I love the people in honors. I love all of the faculty in honors, at least most of them. My advisor's on this call. Love her. She's great. But that's all been a really positive experience. Gonzaga people are really genuine and really kind.
I'll just mention briefly, the way that we review honors applications, it tends to identify students who are really good at balancing a lot of different things. They tend to be the students who are going to say yes before they say no, and they tend to therefore be overrepresented in just about every facet of life on campus. You're going to find them in ambassadors, you're going to find them leading clubs and organizations, you're going to find them doing research with faculty members. You're going to run into them somewhere, whether you're in honors or not, because they're going to just be everywhere. And so I think that there's a certain amount of like breaking down that stereotype. I appreciate you guys sharing that, but that's even back when I was an honors student, that was the case.
All right. This next question is a little specific. I've seen it a few times though. So can the honors capstone ever be co-opted for capstone requirements of another major? So can it count for both a major capstone and thesis requirement as well as the honors requirement?
So what we usually say, I actually love when students are efficient like that. And depending on what your major and minor combinations are, your major might also have some sort of a capstone project. So wow, how many do I have to do, right? It gets a little ridiculous. What we usually say is build out a project that you can conceive of kind of for different stages of development. And so if you're building this project in your major, have another method that you can bring to bear, or think about that public application, that public engagement component. We want the honors project to be 50% original to honors. But if you have built something somewhere else and then find a way to extend it through the honors project, that is totally acceptable. That means your lit review, like all the research you did, is going to give you more bang for your buck across that project. And maybe, if you're a business student and you're, building this big business plan, right? You could think about it, the way you might do all like the financial side through your business program. But then with us, you might think about all of the marketing and all these other elements. Like there would be all these different ways you could maybe expand upon that work. So that's it. They can't be the exact same, but think of honors as a way to extend the thing you're already working on.
I have a question specifically for Cece. We've gotten quite a few questions about engineering in the honors program. How does that fit together? And basically any like advice you have for like succeeding as an engineering honors student. So we've gotten like 5 questions about it.
So it is a challenge. I know a lot of people have struggled with doing both, but it is doable. I think the earliest thing to do is, like Kira said, try to get as many honors designated courses in like your core. That's really helpful. And then also, it does take quite a bit of a workload, but they do balance out really well. And your professors, you just kind of email them, talk to them, correspond, and they're able to help and balance. And I find that the honors courses are really engaging. So they're not, even though they're kind of different than my engineering courses, I still have a great time doing them and engaged in learning and find them very worthwhile to do. And then I was also able to study abroad. So you can do all of it and still be in this program.
I want to echo what Dr. Stevens said earlier for this question. Advising is key, especially for the engineering students. And you will have advisors in your engineering program, but the mechanical engineering people may not know everything about honors because they don't necessarily have a reason to have to. That's why you have secondary advisors. So if you are in a high credit major and you're worried, I would say early on, establish that relationship with that honors secondary advisor and check in with them and make sure that you are making it steady progress. We say at least one honors class each semester, usually get you pretty close to there. And since CC mentioned study abroad, a bunch of the engineering students go to Florence. Again, that's our Gonzaga campus. It is Gonzaga. It just happens to be in Florence. And we have, because we know it's the main way for engineering students to do study abroad, there are classes that are kind of made for them. But we also are pretty generous with finding you honors designated and or colloquia courses while abroad. So look at that study abroad time, whether it's Florence or somewhere else, excuse me, as a way to talk with us and find ways to be efficient there also.
Yeah, just to add on to that, while I was abroad, I took a art and history class in Madrid actually, because computer engineering is going to Madrid. But I talked to Dr. Trudenik after the spring semester and was like, this is my syllabus, this is the project I was working on. Can I get some honor credit for that? And she's like, yes, absolutely. Let's go fill out the paperwork. So like talking with your honors advisors is really helpful to complete both in a like manageable kind of fashion.
All right, another question more specific to housing, but what is the difference between the honors learning living community and just general housing? And can you speak to your experiences on that?
I'll I'll jump in and just say the Honors LLC is shifting a little bit. It has historically been located in a different dorm, but I think the structure, the key essence of it, I think is still going to try and be the same, which is that we have a wing of Coglin, two wings technically on the second floor, that are going to host honor students as well as the STEM LLC, from what I've been told. And so basically you can select a roommate from the honors, group of students. Effectively, historically, if you are an admitted honor student, you are given priority access to be able to say that you can join it, and you have to opt out of being in the Honors LLC. There is flexibility, there's no requirements that you do so, but it is sort of the default option for students to be able to participate. There's higher levels of engagement. Talk about having organic study groups. You're going to have 3 courses together, that first semester, and you're going to be living and surrounded by these people. Not that it's like oppressive or anything. You can get away from them if you need. I think sometimes students feel like they want to make sure that they're not just planted in honors. And so there can be kind of conversations about, well, I'll live elsewhere, but I'll have my courses with honor students. That's perfectly fine. I think that next year in particular, the style of dorm is not going to vary all that greatly between what honors living is going to look like and what other freshmen are living in. So it really just boils down to who is in your immediate hall and who you want to kind of be surrounded by on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I'll say housing has done a nice job when we have honor students who are also RAs. They often let us have those RAs. It's both of our RAs this year are also honors students for the honors LLC. So that doesn't always happen, but it's amazing. And we've had terrific RAs. Our RAs are so good. These students are really trained. It's a really tough job, and we are so grateful for the amazing work of our student RAs. There is also LLCs often are attached to a course, and we have the first year seminar for honors that all the honor students usually take together. And sometimes through that, there's this mechanism through housing to have peer mentors. So students who have taken the course before also can be in the residence hall or it's another layer of mentorship for you. One of the other things we haven't mentioned, honors has like a big little program, but we have built-in student mentorship opportunities in a variety of ways, and the LLC is one mechanism to give you students who have taken the course and can help you guys navigate through it. So that's another additional benefit of that program.
Just to build on that, I think one thing that I try to make clear to students when we talk about like the LLC and housing is that that's a choice. And that we are the kind of campus where, we're not UCLA or the University of Washington, right? You're going to see all the people that you go to class with. You're going to see all the people that you're in honors with. And whether you live in the honors housing or you don't live in the honors housing, that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot about your experience with honors. It means your experience with a certain cohort of people and your ability to build on that. You're going to get that in other places too if you want that experience. So if you're the kind of person who says, I want to be in the honors program, but I'm not sure I want to be that in the honors program, there's a fit for you there too.
I know we're right at 7 o'clock. Are there any kind of final questions, Becky or Sarah, that we want to cover? I'll also mention, I'm going to put my email in the chat. Feel free to take that down if, I don't know, I'm not going to ask anybody else to do that. But if you have specific questions that we weren't able to answer, I'm not only a former honor student, but I coordinate this process. I have close connections to the students that we've had on campus in this call today with Karen, with Chris, with everyone else in the program. So if we didn't cover the specific thing that you want, do feel free to reach out to me directly and we will get that addressed. That is my email. Feel free to copy that down and I will get to you as soon as I possibly can. Any final questions or things we want to cover? Okay. Sounds good. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you all. Hopefully that was helpful. We will get this posted online and we look forward to engaging with you. We hope to read many of your applications in the months to come.